How would you react if your government shut down internet access to your whole country, like what is happening in Iran right now? Probably just sit at home restarting my router repeatedly for a few hours before I realize something is wrong. The internet in my neighborhood went out one night. We're all on contracts with Comcast, and it's literally the only time I've seen more than 3 of my neighbors outside at the same time. Kind of spooky how we all decide to poke our heads out at the same time after maybe only 5 minutes of downed interwebs. Personally, nearly everyone I know would no longer be able to work, so that removes the main thing preventing the average American from participating in sustained protests. So, we all will be doing that, you sure? Without internet this country will fly apart faster than a CD spinning at 100k RPM if it gets shut down with no warning. Very few people will know what's going on. People with shortwave radios will immediately become the most sought after people because phones won't work. Start gathering supplies and stash them away. Shit's about to get real. I might actually attend a protest. Yeah, but mostly because I would be bored as F and without internet there would be nothing better to do. I'd be dumbfounded because the economy would grind to a halt overnight. Yep. My first answer is I'd probably be fired because the company would just shut down without internet. We're at a point that for the vast majority of the world is hypothetical bankrupt country. I'd be scared because internet is the best way to reveal the government's actions. Why do you need internet to reveal the government's actions when they had taken away one of life's essentials? At this point you don't need the internet to gather round to play the blame game. You do the same what is happening all around the world at the moment. You fight against the government. You may not see it in your daily life around you, but people all over the world are pissed with their government. So when shit hits the fan you stand strong with a huge crowd. No need to be scared. There'd be a mass exodus. I imagine pretty much anyone with the skills to leave would leave. Canada would build a wall. Probably. They'd need one. The US has plenty of poor, unskilled workers to keep out. But I imagine they'd let people through with transit visas. Switch to a single player game. Facts. I'd post about it on Reddit. Wait. Riot. Probably run since the government must be cooking something scary if they're cutting off the people's best form of communicating news. That's really scary. Those poor people. This Thursday there's a protest in my country. It is expected to be one of the biggest in recent memory and the government is taking a very violent approach to it, calling all army personnel to be on standby and claiming that the protests are organized by shadowy left-wing groups. I'm scared that the protests may turn a lot more violent than they already are, both because of the most radical violent protesters and because of the anti-riot police division, and that the government may both repress a peaceful protest and impose a blackout. Bro, you in Hong Kong or something? Start a riot and show them politicians hell. Sadly riots don't affect politicians. They only affect the police. If the whole US was denied internet access, I would pretty much just start implementing my apocalyptic crisis plan. Armed rebellion. Holing up in a cabin in the wilderness. Whatever seemed most appropriate. Internet access is so entrained in my life and my world, and recognized as a human right by the UN. If my government just decides to flip that switch and follow through, I will have found the hill I want to die on. If there's a rebellion, you bet your Ray I'm hiding in a cabin in the woods. I'm a badass with white belt karate training, but I haven't gotten to the level where I can karate chop bullets in half, or backflip onto fighter jets. It means your rights are about to be completely stripped. Well, my country is big on guns and rights. Personally, I'd be boarding up windows and securing doors as some purge level bullshit's probably about to go down. I am sure there are loopholes, like satellite phones. No matter how long it takes, we will find a way to distribute memes through ham radio. A rubber ducky one. This is Society Van. We got a bruh moment on Highway 69. Can I get an affirmative? This is Rubber Ducky 1. Bottom text affirmative on that bruh moment. Lock the doors, grab my valuables, and book it into the basement. There's gonna be an equivalent of the purge about to go on and I'm definitely not gonna be a part of it. If anyone is legitimately worried about this, there's an app called Bridgeify that uses Bluetooth for messaging. It's been doing well in Hong Kong. If the government took down the internet they would lose track of us. It would easy to subvert them without mass surveillance. It would be really hard to pull this off in the US. You'd piss off pretty much every big corporation which is generally not part of the government's plan. Something like this would have warning signs as changes to infrastructure are made to make it possible. If I see things like that, Canada isn't far. I don't know. The US might see nationwide riots, borderline civil war. If I saw it coming I bet me and literally everyone else would be out stocking up on gas. They did this next door in Zimbabwe. I live in South Africa. Last year, a whole bunch of people were killed by police government. Considering the political state of my country, I'm grabbing rifles, loading a munition, and waiting for the hordes. Good luck with that. You won't be the only one. Ever poke a hibernating bear? Millions of angry men would rise from basements and couches, grab their firearms and make someone pay. Man, I wonder what posses an army to support a kleptocratic regime. The world is just effed, I guess, because they can't coordinate a rebellion without being turned in, either by someone that's afraid of punishment or someone that wants to score points with the current regime. My government's done that before. I tried to kill myself after that cause I knew she was gonna hit the fan and I didn't want to be around when it did. I had to cancel my Farsi lesson because my tutor is in Iran and we have no way of communicating. I'd run to the Goodwill store and buy a ton of books. I'd put on my hiking boots, pack a tent and have some nice days up in the mountains. If things weren't fixed by the time I got back, I'd have a stern talk with the Prime Minister. Kashmir has also been on lockdown since last over 80 days by the Indian government. People don't have access to communication outside. The army is literally arresting anyone who goes against them. It's just like Hong Kong. If anyone interested, read it up online. India is trying to cover it up and seems like it did succeeded in doing it so because no one seems to know about it. It hit the international news when the internet was shut down, along with some background information. But there haven't been many follow-up stories. Prepare to run for Canada. She's about to hit the fan with banking and marital law. Canadian here. If it happens to you guys, we're probably not far behind, largely because of how connected our internet infrastructure is to yours. The memes must flow. I'm not doubting it, but could someone please explain how the government could do this? In the US they really can't as the internet is run by companies. Other countries the routers and network equipment are owned by the government so they can shut it down as they see fit. That being said, the fiber backbones are very vulnerable. Any organization with the want to do so could take them out with little resistance. Ideally, overthrow the government. That kind of behavior indicates nothing good about the status quo. Realistically, try to get to my family and stockpile food and water. Time to put that Second Amendment to work, boys. Probably I'd try to check if Tor still works, and when it probably doesn't I would either run and hide or join a protest, depending on context. Guillotine the government. Put in a new government. KMS but in real life. Shutting down the internet is a BA move. Everybody riot. That'd be a violation of my rights, so the government would be committing 30 million rights violations. By the time they're doing that, do you think they'd care? Take the next train back to my old home, grab my leather armor, buy a battle axe. Time to overthrow the government with the power of the people and black metal. Civil war. Same thing with Kashmir. Start loading magazines and re-zero. The defecation is about to hit the oscillation. Kill myself and make sure I'm buried with a router so I can have internet in heaven. Make my own Wi-Fi internet, with blackjack and hookers. Stockpiling supplies and emptying my bank accounts. I'd get some popcorn, something to drink, and sit down to watch the entire nation catch fire faster than a black powder barrel explodes in a fire. I have a stockpile of memes on my PC and phone. I'd burn them to DVDs and go make some money. I'd pack up and head to California way. I hear they've got some internet out there. I would move immediately. Life hack: move countries or die. Head out and buy more ammo since it will likely be necessary very quickly. If you would do that, then you should do it now. I believe in having it and not needing it, over not having it and needing it. I'm from Texas though, and buy ammo everything I buy bread. Topple the government. FM. Without the internet I wouldn't know what to think. Everyone would just leave to the neighboring countries out of protest. Me, my family, our weapons, and our year's supply of food and water. Good morning. Today is a wonderful day. Secure as many supplies as I could without tipping anyone off. Leave everything pre-set up to bunker down. Then act surprised when it all goes down. Good thing I have a decent amount of PTO. Exercise my Second Amendment right to bear arms in case of tyrannical government. Alright, get the guns. Anarchy time. Well, a lot of people would be out of a job. I'm in marketing and the majority of my job is digital. I'd start a refine crusade. I would not be able to complete school assignments and I'd fail half my courses because I use the internet a lot to look things up. Even read textbooks online for many of the courses. Raid the country. We can stop all of ourselves. Make sure I spread and build a network of smartphone users with an app like Bridgefy for non-internet communication. Guess I'd have to go hang out with my friends in real life. I'd feel helpless and isolated. Stock up on medicine, food, guns, ammo, and gas, and find a place to wait until it comes back. Internet means more than social media and credit cards. Blood will be spilled. Let's assume it happens on a Friday afternoon. I would complain about my router being a cheap piece of junk for a while, then assume it was my ICE being awful. So I would switch off my Wi-Fi and try cellular data only to find that wouldn't work. So I would grumble in frustration as I put down my phone and read a book, then do some work around the house. This would continue through the weekend. Monday morning, I would get to work, only to find that my internet at work is also not working. But I would again assume that it's just the network being screwed up at work as happens every Monday, and find something to do to keep myself busy. Tuesday, I might finally start wondering what was going on, but would continue to operate on the assumption that it was a temporary hiccup, because sometimes the outages will last a couple of days. By Wednesday, I would finally start asking some questions, which no one would have answers to because no one else has access to the internet, but we start to try to figure it out together. Thursday, someone will finally get the idea to call up the comm centers and find out what's going on. But since all of our phones are VoIP, no one can figure out how to get a hold of them. So someone drives over to their building only to find that they are out to lunch, and decides he'll take care of it tomorrow. Friday, everyone gives up but figures since it's Friday, they won't worry about it. The comm guys take off every other Friday, so they can't help. However, the 75-year-old guy who retired 6 times but for some reason still shows up as a consultant now and then, who doesn't have internet at home and only has a landline, therefore never knew there was a problem, decides to come in that day, and we start to ask him if he's heard anything. He, of course, hasn't, but says he will try to help us find out. Unfortunately, he only planned to come in for an hour that day, but he will come back next week and let us know what he finds out. Everyone proceeds to freak out for the second weekend with no internet. Many people stare at their phones waiting for them to refresh, while everyone else just takes the time to enjoy the outdoors. Finally, Sunday afternoon, aforementioned no internet man receives a carrier pigeon that says the government just shut down our internet. Unfortunately, the message was sent by his friend, who just so happens to have the name Alex Jones. This is not the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones that you hear about on the news. He just has the unfortunate coincidence of having the same relatively common name. So, Monday morning, when he brings the note into work to tell people what's going on, people see the name written at the bottom of the note. Naturally, in a boy who cried wolf scenario, no one believes that the information could be factual, and everyone continues to blame the ISPs, routers, cell phones, comb focal points, what have you. Tuesday, The government finally gives up and turns the internet back on, because no one but the guy with an unfortunate name ever actually figured out what was going on. So their plan backfired, and no one's opinions changed whatsoever about the government. All of this was because we were too plugged into the internet to know how to find out what happened without the internet. But then Tuesday and Wednesday holds nationwide blackouts due to the deluge of Latagram posts serving as an unintentional secondary DDoS attack. And everyone continues to be angry without knowing who to be angry about. Thursday, government officials finally release a statement that it was them all along, with their intentions and the reasoning behind the shutdown. This statement was not released previously, because government ineptitude being what it is, they shut down the internet, and then released the statement in an email. Friday, everyone forgets what happened because the Kardashians have internet again.